สวัสดีค่ะ Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rose Chitanuwat. I'm going to be the moderator for the session today. Welcome everyone to our Food Ingredients Asia online event, which will be from today till 22nd of September with 82 sessions on the platform and with more than 200 products that you can networking with the supplier around the world on ingredients. So now I have with me our expert, which is from Indonesia, Professor Purwiyanto Haryadi. So I call him Dr. Pur. He's going to update about Codex General Principles of Food Hygiene, CXC 1-1969. So Dr. Pur is the professor at IPB University, Bogor, Indonesia. He is also a member of Indonesian Academy of Science. He is also fellow of IA Force, Fifth Star, and IU Force. And he now is the vice chair of Codex Alimentarius Commission. So now I have Dr. Pur with me together for 1 hour going through the Codex General Principles. If you have any question, please put on the live chat in the platform and then we will answer you at the end of the session. Please, Dr. Pur.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you again. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, evening, depending on where you are. This is a good pleasure for me to have this kind of opportunity to talk about some important topic related to food science, food technology, and especially with the food safety. So today I was given a task by Rose to discuss with you regarding the update on Codex General Principle on Food Hygiene. So I would like to share my screen, my slide. Okay, I will not pretend that I'm the expert on all aspects of the general principle of food hygiene, but my attempt today was trying to give you some highlight. What are the changes with respect to the CXC 1-1969? So this is a very classic Codex text, and sometimes it was referred as a basic Codex text. Okay, and specifically, I will make some note regarding on food safety culture, because in this document, the food safety culture was emphasized. How it is food safety culture will become a very important aspect, especially when we develop a food safety management system and also as a plan, for example, and that's why I would like to spend some time to talk a little bit more about food safety culture. Okay, thank you very much again for the introduction, Rose. I'm currently at Bogor Agricultural University, or IPB University in Bogor, Indonesia. Okay. I will start with this. So this is the document that I was referring to. Okay. The general principle of food hygiene. This document is, again, I mentioned before, it was very classic, first adopted in 1969, and since then has undergone several changes. So it was very clearly stated that the document adopted in 1969 and then amended in 1999. Okay, and it's been revised 3 times at least, depending on what our definition about revision. In 1997, 2003, and the last revision was last year in September 2020. Okay. In addition to that, this Codex document has also been corrected editorially in 2011, but the major or the significant revision was done, especially in 2020. Okay, if you would like to download this document, you can do so. Please visit the Codex website. If you search at the Codex website, you'll find the document that I mentioned. And this is the specific reference for the document. Okay, so why is it very important to talk about the general principle of food hygiene? Because that's the foundation actually of how the organization, the food business operator, facility, or other food establishment to process and also to handle food, to make sure that the food is safe and suitable for consumption. So this is very important one, because you know that safety is a very important component of food. In fact, FAO, for example, has have some motto here. This is a very important one, that if it isn't safe, it isn't food. Okay, so first thing first, food must be safe. So this is very important one. I usually say that safety is a prerequisite of food. You know, that's why if it isn't safe, it isn't food. So discussing about the general principle of food hygiene, in my opinion, is very important. Okay, how to understand and also to apply at the end of the day this document in our daily operation is very important. So first thing first, why the document is revised? First, as I mentioned, because they are talking about different thing, a very important thing, I mean, and this is about safety. And as we know that, you know, the standard actually has to be improved, has to be ensured that the standard is relevant with the current time. So as part of the continuous improvement, I think many standards has been revised accordingly, and the Codex General Principle of Food Hygiene is also one of them. Okay. In addition to that, according, you know, because of the development of science and technology, the application of new processing technology in the food manufacturing sector has been growing very fast, so that it is timely to also revisit the basic Codex text, which is the Codex General Principle of Food Hygiene. And also, especially related to the HACCP principle. As we know that previously in the older version of this document, HACCP is considered as an annex of the document. And some think that HACCP is an important part of the document, so HACCP should not be an annex. HACCP should be one of the main part of the document. So a lot of discussion about that, and finally we got the revision adopted in 2020. Okay, and actually in terms of the work itself, the revision itself actually is started in 2015. So it took several years, 4 or 5 years, until finally got adopted. And in fact, as of now, some of the work that were intended to do has not been completed, especially related to the development of decision tree. Okay, so that's still undergo. The work is still going on at the Codex Committee of Food Hygiene, and currently I think it's still in step 2. So this is a drafting step and will be discussed thoroughly at the committee level, and after the draft was adopted, then decision tree will be part of this document as an annex. Okay, so this is the status right now. So I think now the question is what is changing? What changed in the document? I think there are several of them. I will not be able to highlight or discuss all of them, but I select some of the changes that, in my opinion, are very important, need to be discussed with you, and hopefully we all become aware of that change and we can make some adjustment accordingly in our daily operation. Okay. Basically, the document structure has been changed. As I mentioned before, maintain the HACCP system. It was annexed before, and now it's becoming part of the document. So I'm sorry, this is still in Bahasa Indonesia. I call this is chapter, okay, chapter 1 and chapter 2. Okay, so the structure of document is very much introduction. There is several part of the introduction, and in my opinion, the introduction part is very important. So I will spend a big chunk of time in this presentation to discuss about the introduction part before going to chapter number 1. Chapter number 1 is about good hygiene practices, or GHPs, and then chapter 2 is specifically discuss about HACCP system and guideline for its application. Okay, so this is a big change because previously HACCP system is considered as an annex of this CXC 1969. Okay, and currently, as I mentioned before, the decision tree to identify the critical control point, the CCPs, is still at the drafting step. Step number 2 at the Codex Committee of Food Hygiene. And ultimately, when this draft was finished, so the draft of the document will be placed as an annex of the document of the general principle of food hygiene. Okay. I took this from one of the publication mentioning or explaining about some changes, and I use this as a reference because I think it was good and also help us in identifying what are the changes that are occurring in this for this document. Okay, so again, the structure very much changed because HACCP is becoming the main part, and overall, all of the structure of the document is shown in the screen here, but I will try to highlight and discuss with you some of the main or important changes that has been done, and then hopefully you can recognize that and make adjustment as necessary. So at the introduction part, there are several components of it. Number one is objective as a part of the first part before entering the chapter 1. So there is an introduction and then objective. At the objective part of this document, I think they mentioned several important things and also some new things. They emphasize the importance of general principle of food hygiene, and specifically, the new document has highlighted how the GHP or good hygiene practices and the RCCP, the Asset Analysis and Critical Control Point System, relate in this document. So this is a very important one to give all of us, the actor or operator of food business at every point of the food chain, to really understand what is the relationship between good hygiene practices and CCP. First, it was mentioned that food safety and suitability of food should be controlled using science-based preventive approach. So this is very significant in my opinion. First, it has to be science-based, not based on anything else. So it has to be science-based, and it is preferably a preventive approach is much better. So it's better to prevent things from occurring, rather, this is much better as compared to reactive something that has occurred. Okay, so this is the basis for a preventive approach. This is very important one. And GHP, good hygienic practices, should ensure that food has been handled and produced in specific environment, and the environment is managed in such a way, designed in such a way that they will minimize the presence of contaminant. So with that, we expect that the risk of contamination is minimized. So this is about the requirement on the premises, on the establishment, in the environment of the production and handling of food. Okay? And we should ensure that the properly applied prerequisite program, and then we mentioned about this also include good hygienic practices that will be discussed further in chapter 1 of this document, is a very important foundation for an effective ACCP system. Okay, so in fact, for a simple operation, especially for small scale operation, simple operation, it is recognized that probably the good hygienic practices only is enough. Okay, again, this is depending on the situation and need to be validated and to ensure that all GHP that were established is good enough and work properly to ensure that the food produced and handled are safe and suitable for consumption. Okay. And next, after that, we're talking about the scope. Okay, specifically, the document discuss about this, and they have several changes. Important one, the major one, in my opinion, this document put emphasis more on the role of FBO. FBO is a food business operators. Okay, so food business operator mentioned in this document should apply the hygienic practices and food safety principle set out in the document. What they meant by a document is the general principle of food hygiene document, the CXC 1969 document. Okay, And it was elaborated in great detail here. Number one is the ABO need to develop, implement, and verify processes that provide food that is safe and suitable for its intended use. So this is the responsibility of any MBOs to ensure that they have a capability, they have resources to develop, implement, and verify processes so that the food they provide, the food they produce are safe and suitable for intended use. Number two, to ensure personnel are competent. So this is very important one. The people who are doing it are competent or have a certain competency as appropriate to their job activities. So this is, again, to ensure that those people are good enough or capable enough or have a good competency to produce safe and suitable food for its intended use. Okay. And then this is the new one, the number two. It says we all need to build a positive food safety culture. Okay. This is, I think, is major addition to this document. By what? By demonstrating their commitment to providing safe and suitable food, and also encouraging appropriate food safety practices for all, not only their employee, but also for anybody who has some access or some business with the FBOs in handling and producing food. Okay, so this has been emphasized very heavily in this document about food safety culture and also about the role of the food business operator. And continue, food business operator also need to, in doing so, will contribute to maintaining confidence in domestically and internationally traded food. So this is actually is important for the country to ensure that every actor at the food business operator will do their job responsibly to ensure that not only domestic supply, but also internationally traded food are safe and suitable for consumption. And then we also need to ensure that consumer have a clear and easily understood information, this is about labeling, to enable them to identify, specifically mentioned in this document here, the presence of food allergens. And this is specifically mentioned here. Protect their food from contamination. This is need to be provided, this information, and also prevent the growth or survival of foodborne pathogen by storing, handling, and preparing food correctly. So I made in the bold over there, presence of food allergen specifically mentioned, and just to give you an update as well that in this respect related to allergen, Codex has also newly adopted actually code of practice on food allergen management for food business operator. So this is the CXC AD 2020. So this is just recently adopted and adopted in 2020. So, okay. So if you would like to consult more related to pertaining to allergen management and also labeling aspect of it, I think this document is very important to be consulted. Okay. Further down, now we talking about the general principle. Okay. And this document also put a lot of emphasis on the importance of management commitment to food safety. Yeah. Again, this is related to the insertion or addition of food safety culture. Food safety culture can only be developed with the commitment of management in this case. Okay, so it was stated very clearly in this document that fundamental to the successful functioning of any food hygiene system is the establishment and maintenance of positive food safety culture. Again, so this is one of the highlight again. That this document put emphasis very clearly on food safety culture. Okay, not only food safety culture, but specifically positive food safety culture, meaning that a culture of food safety that will improve the safety status, the safety aspect of food that we are producing. Okay, acknowledging the importance of human behavior in providing safe and suitable food. So this is again very new approach in my opinion. Not only that we are considering food science, technology, toxicology, things like that, but also this is the time that we need also to consider behavioral sciences, okay, related to human behavior as related to food safety that they are handling and producing. So this is very important one, important change regarding to this document. Okay? And the following elements are important in cultivating a positive food safety culture. So this document, through the deliberation at the committee, specifically at the Food Hygiene Committee, and also a discussion at the Commission, Codex Commission, and finally have agreed to identify several important components that can be utilized in cultivating a positive food safety culture. Number one is commitment of the management. Again, this is very important one. Okay, commitment of management and all personnel to the production and handling of safe food. Okay, the safe food can only be produced properly if all actors involved, all personnel, and including the management, top management, has a commitment, high commitment in producing one. It's a very basic one. And leadership need to set the right direction and to engage all personnel in food safety practices. So involving all consumers, no one left behind in order to achieve food safety. Okay, so this kind of culture, this kind of practice need to be nurtured at the organization, at the food business operator or food facility, to really motivate all of the personnel and also all of the leadership to go together, to work together in achieving better food safety. And then awareness of the importance of food hygiene by all personnel and in the food business. Okay, so this is need to be nurtured, need to be cultivated. That food hygiene related, including the personal hygiene, is also very important in all aspects of the food business. Number 4 element that can be used for cultivating a positive food safety culture is open and clear communication among all personnel in the food business, including communication of deviation and expectation. So this is very important one. From top management until the operator at the production floor need to have the same understanding and also the same action if things going wrong. If some mission occur, then everybody need to be clear and what need to be done. If this communication from the top to bottom is very clear and open, then everybody who handle this kind of situation will not hesitate to take action necessary to ensure food safety. So they're not, afraid of being, what do you call it, criticized because what you do is correct, but too costly, for example, but because the number one aspect is food safety, so there should be open and clear communication about that, so that everybody know what to do, everybody know what to expect, to do when some food safety incident occur. Okay. This is very difficult sometimes, but this has been emphasized in this newly revised document. And then the availability of sufficient resources obviously is very important. If you try to improve the culture of hand washing, for example, then facility of hand washing need to be provided, including soap and also other things related to hand washing activity, to ensure that the effective functioning of the food hygiene system is in place. So this is some of the things that has been identified by this document related to effort to cultivate a positive food safety culture. So management in general should ensure the effectiveness of the food hygiene system in place by the several things again that has been laid out by this document. Ensuring that roles, responsibilities, and authorities are clearly communicated in the food business. This is just to highlight again that everybody should have a clear understanding, clear knowing the expectation that need to be done if something goes wrong. So without hesitate to do it, to take a necessary action when food safety accident occurring. Again, this is very important. That's why open and clear communication related to role, responsibility, and authority is very important. Then maintaining the integrity of the food hygiene system when changes are planned and implemented. This is specifically when some food business operator or some industry or organization make some change, we need to make sure that the integrity of the food hygiene system is there, is protected. Okay? So we don't want to have reasoning or maybe excuse. Okay, things happen because some changes are implemented. So everything has to be designed properly, prepared properly to ensure that the integrity of the food hygiene system is maintained. And then verifying that control are carried out and working. Okay, the control is carried out and working properly, and that documentation is also up to date. So I think this is just emphasis. I think a good practice has been done in this area, but in this document, again, clearly identified. Ensuring that the appropriate training, this is with respect to the competence human resources, and supervision are in place for personnel. Again, this is very important as well. Ensuring compliance with relevant regulatory requirements. And encouraging continual improvement where appropriate, taking into account development in science, technology, and best practices in industry. So again, this is things that were identified as an important aspect for the management to take care of, especially in ensuring and maintaining the food safety in their premises. So in general, this general principle highlight one very important aspect, and it is new in terms of this document, that is about food safety culture. So this document recognizes the importance of human behavior in providing safe and suitable food. So not only technology, machinery, for example, and also laboratory technical aspect of it, but this document recognizes that, at the end of the day, the one that handle and that produce the food is the human, is the people. So that the human behavior is a very important part in ensuring safety and the suitability of the food they are handling and producing. So this is a highlight of that. So in general, I just would like to mention a little bit more here that food safety culture is, a culture thing. What are the opinion of the people? What is the thought of the people, and how the behavior of the people, of the personnel employee think and behave about food safety. That's basically it. Okay. So the food safety thought and also behavior are routinely demonstrated and practiced. This is the expectation. Even though nobody is watching. If you are washing your hand, not because somebody is watching, but because you realize that this is good in protecting food safety. And no, especially it's not only good for protecting food safety, but also protecting health, your health, and also others. Okay, and this need to be maintained over time. So not just as a program, part of the program, but this has to be part of the behavior of the culture. So what we need to develop in this document, in my opinion, is to develop food safety culture, not food safety program. Okay, so the program needs to be done continually by discipline and monitor very intensively in a way that finally will cultivate in everyday behavior of all actors in food operator. So that finally become a culture. So that's the ultimate expectation or the ultimate goal of this document. Another part of the document is talking about definition, and some are changed in the definition. I will not go into detail about all of the changes in the definition, but I will specifically mention about change in the definition of food safety. Again, food safety is very important, and previously, food safety is defined as the assurance that food will not cause harm to the consumer when it is prepared and or eaten according to its intended use. Okay, so this is the previous definition of this document. Okay, but now the newly revised document has revised the definition as well. So food safety is the assurance that food will not cause adverse health effects to the consumer when it is prepared and or eaten according to its intended use. So the difference is in here. Previously is talking about harm here. Okay, but now harm has been replaced, has been revised to adverse health effect. I think we can discuss about this. So harm is, in my opinion, is a lot more wide, a lot more complex, and the new definition is more specifically related to health. Okay, so things that are associated with the health, for example, that's why we are talking about, for example, microbiological hazard, chemical hazard, and physical hazard that potentially can have adverse effect on health, on human health. So again, this is a new definition that were used in the document. Not the document, not definition. Important one is definition about food business operator, FBO. Okay. So basically, the FBO is the entity responsible for operating a business at any step in the food chain. Okay, when we're talking about the food chain from farm to table, so at any step of the food chain is a food business operator, because they are responsible for operating that step. Okay, so and many other some minor or improvement in terms of the definition that were agreed. I would like to recommend you to check them out to make sure that we have a clear understanding about the terminology. But unfortunately, in my opinion, this document do not include the definition about food safety culture. So in my opinion, it's kind of unfortunate, because food safety culture has been introduced as an important part of this document of effort in trying to ensure food safety, but apparently we don't have formal definition on food safety culture. But if I'm referring to other document, but this is not the Codex document. The food safety culture actually has been discussed before, and one of the organizations that are very actively promoting the importance of food safety culture is GFSI. So, GFSI has introduced the definition, and I think we can use that for the moment, at least, before we have another definition, if it is necessary. Is a shared value, belief, and norm that affect mindset and behavior toward food safety in, across, and throughout an organization. So again, it's about the thinking, about the mindset, about the attitude of the actor related to food safety. Okay, I will talk a little bit more about that later on if we have some time. Okay. So after that, then we go to chapter 1 of the document. Yeah. The chapter 1 is about good hygienic principles, and there is some other changes further down, but I will not be able to go one by one. So I decided to highlight some of them. One of them is section 1. This is the new one, introduction and control of food hazard. Okay, so this is in the chapter 1. There are several sections, and section 1, in my opinion, is a new one. At least at some men that are new, that need to be understood properly. So this section 1 of chapter 1, emphasize on basically a typical prerequisite program, and necessary to especially we go to the HACCP aspect of it, especially related to some key aspect of the good hygiene practices, as a prerequisite program. So what are they, and what is the expectation of that, and to we need also to ensure the effectiveness of the GHP, and also some of the consideration related to GHP that were installed, and also what is the impact related to food safety. And the important thing is also that we need to really clearly define or describe the product that we are producing, the product that we are handling, and also the process that we are applying, the food business operator applying. So that this is very important one, especially when later on we are talking about the HACCP plan. So this document emphasizes the importance of product description and also product processes, and more clearly, including the intended use of that product. It's very important one, or even at some point the unintended use, but people use it anyway. For example, actually the main use of this product that we were produced were for making soup, for example. So that when we are talking about safety, so we have to consider about the addition of hot water and so on at high temperature, but unintentionally or not by design in this case, some consumer also consume that directly without addition of hot water, for example, as a snack. So what is the consequence of that behavior, of that usage in terms of food safety? So we need to be aware of that, start from the beginning. Okay, so this is some of the highlight, at least, that were mentioned in that document. And then also, this document put a lot of emphasis on the importance of achieving a certain level of competence with respect to the personnel. So not only the training itself, but the emphasis is on training to improve the competence, the specific competence. So I think the stress is different over here. And this document has identified several things: the training program, the element to take into account in determining the extent of training required include some of the things here. Yeah, the nature of hazard associated with the food. So we need to develop a training program to make sure that certain competence related to the nature of hazard associated with the food, specific food produced by the industry, by the food business operator is there. I mean, the personnel has that kind of competency is available as a resources there. Yeah. As example there, I mentioned that its ability to sustain growth of pathogenic or spoilage microorganism, for example. Okay. That specific food, what factor is important for sustaining growth of pathogenic or spoilage microorganism, and how to control it. The existence of potential physical contaminant or non-allergen, for example. So this is again one of the competencies that need to be have by the personnel. And then the manner in which the food is produced, processed, handled, and packaged, including the likelihood of contamination. This is need to be trained to all of the personnel, especially the personnel involved in this specific handling of that particular step of production. The extent and nature of processing or further preparation before consumption of the food, again, okay, before consumption, including understanding some of the deviation in terms of the intended use. So we need to make sure that all of the possibility of the consumer in using and consuming our product is identified. Okay? Condition under which the food is will be stored, and then the expected length of time before consumption of the food, and the use and maintain of instrument and equipment associated with the food. Again, all of those are associated or need to be trained, especially understanding their impact on food safety is very important. Okay. So now the last part of my presentation is about the HACCP one. I don't have any good time of time. So basically I will say that this is chapter 2. Chapter 2 is specifically mentioned about HACCP. And when we're talking about the HACCP preliminary step, then we have a 5-step. I think very much the same thing there, except that, you know, when step 2, when we're talking about the step to describe the product, we need to be more precise in the definition, including, again, to be aware of the deviation in terms of the consumption. Okay, I just give you some illustration about some product that were designed or intended to be used as a soup, for example, but some consumer, in fact, use it as a snack with a different treatment. And we need to make sure those treatments are not had a bad consequences related to the food safety. So this is very important one. Okay? And then in terms of the principle, we have several edition or different emphasis now. Principle 1, for example, again, conduct an hazard analysis, and so this is the wording of the edition, and identify control measures. Start at the beginning in principle 1. So conduct the hazard analysis and identify control measures. So if we would like to upgrade our hazard plan, then we need to make some adjustment on this. And then principle 2, I don't think there is a lot of changes. And then principle 3, we have a validated word inserted there. So establish validated critical limit. So when establishing critical limit, we need to have some kind of validation step to ensure that the critical limit is really very critical one. And then principle 4, I don't think we have a lot of changes. Establish a system to monitor control of CCPs. And then principle 5, establish the corrective action to be taken when monitoring a deviation from critical limit at a CCP has occurred. So this is wording. The wording is a little bit different, just to let you know. And then the principle 6, validate the hazard plan and then establish procedure for the verification to confirm that the hazard system is working as intended. Okay, so what required by this document regarding the principle 6 is that the procedure for verification is, or the hazard plan is validated. So this is addition. I think this is new one. And principle 7, not much change. Then, so again, I would like to recommend to you that if you would like to update your hazard plan program related to the new version of Codex principle of food hygiene, then what we need is trying to make some comparison on that. And I will go back to the food safety culture, because I think this is the most significant changes or upgrade related to this particular document. So we know that the definition of food safety, right? Definition of food safety is assurance. Okay, so that the food we handle, we produce, will not cause any adverse health effect. Okay, if it is eaten as intended. So this is assurance is associated with something that are not really absolute. It's not something that involve probability, something that involve risk, basically. So that with that kind of situation, so actually we have a very difficult question to answer as how safe is safe enough. And again, to answer this question, usually the answer is depend on many factors. So, and when we are talking about many factors, one of the factor, very important one, is culture. So this just to illustrate about the safety of just crossing the street, for example. So depending on the culture of the society, the way we manage, the way we handle crossing the street is different. Okay, so some need to have a bridge, and some need to have just crossing sign, and another need to be equipped with traffic light, for example, things like that. It's depending on the culture and also the situation that particularly related to specific place, specific food business operator situation, need to be considered very carefully. Okay, so again, it's very difficult. The answer is not doesn't fit to every aspect or every condition. So we need to be specific in answering this kind of question. And we know that basically food safety, when we're talking about how safe is safe enough, is affected by many variables. You know, the technology available in the country, in the industry, small scale industry, big and modern industry have different access to technology, and they will be able, they will have understanding differently also about food safety and level of food safety as well. The economy of the consumer, of the society will also have some influence on the safety, or at least the expectation regarding the safety, or in answering how safe is safe enough. Okay, and also cost or benefit. You know, in trying to establish food safety management, what is the cost and what is the benefit, and more importantly, in my opinion, all of those is depend on culture. And in fact, if I trying to quote the saying of Sir John Abbott, this is the third Prime Minister of Canada, mentioned that every man's ability may be strengthened or increased by culture. So the same thing can be applied for food safety. So if we have a good, or we call it positive, food safety culture, then hopefully we also will be able to increase the level of safety of our food product. I would like to mention this. This is a good book, in my opinion, available at the internet. So I would like to encourage you to read this book, basically how to incorporate the human behavior aspect into the managing of food safety. Okay, I will not go much detail on this. And the same person, basically the author of this book, mentioned that culture is the way we do things around here. I mean, you know, this is specific for food business operator. So food safety culture of FBOA and FBOB will be different. You know, industry A and industry B will have a different food safety culture, but we need, you know, all need to improve our food safety culture, our positive food safety culture in handling and producing food. So food safety culture is about how an organization or group does food safety. So this is basically what need to be improved, what need to be developed, using some of the aspect that has been identified by this document as well. This is the newer book of this same author, and actually this author now is one of the officer at the US FDA. So it's very important one, in my opinion, because it was based on his experience in maintaining or managing food safety. And he said that if you are trying to improve the food safety performance of MBO, of your organization, basically, an organization with thousands of employees, what you are really trying to do actually is change the people behavior. So this is important one, in my opinion. So that, in closing, hopefully we still have some time, I'm sorry. Food safety culture, in my opinion, is referring to specific culture of an organization, MBO, or facility, including the attitude, the belief, practices, and value that determine what is happening with respect to handling and producing food when no one is watching. Okay, so this is with respect to food safety. And finally, food safety culture is one colonial word growing in every company petri dish. Hopefully we all can grow positive food safety culture. With that, I would like to end my presentation and apologize if I make some improper comment or anything. With that, again, I will get back to Rose. Rose, thank you very much, and I will end here. Thank you.
Paul, thank you very much for the very detailed presentation. So for clear, it's about culture, leader. So I recommend, as Papu said, we should like keep the safety as first, because we are dealing with the things that consumer gonna eat, whether with supervisor or non-supervisor, the safety should be in our culture and discipline. So Papu, I just have a very short question on your presentation, because some audience would like to get your presentation. They said it is already like put in very clear understanding, and then they can go to in detail with the Codex website later on. So how would you like us to handle for those who want the presentation?
Okay. Yes, I will send it to you if that will help.
Okay, so I will announce to the audience here, anyone who want to presentation, please bookmark and put your put your email on the chat. I am going to get our back end to the staff at the back end to send the presentation to you. So today, this is very detailed information that Papu can share to us in 1 hour. So if you want to reach him to get more information, please contact him, and don't forget that keep the culture of food safety in your corporation for the better food to the industry. Thank you very much, Papu. Terima kasih, and then hope have good health and stay safe, Papu. Bye bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.